On this episode of History Hunters, Sarah and I visited Coloma, California, where James Marshall found gold by accident in 1848, setting off the gold rush stampede for the Golden State. We'll also check out the gravesite where Marshall was laid to rest in 1885. So welcome to this episode of History Hunters. We're outside of the Coloma livery stables, and we are at the Marshall Gold Discovery Park here in Coloma, California, where in 1848 gold was discovered. January 24th, 1848, which James Marshall was setting up a sawmill here with John Sutter, looked in the tail trace of the mill and found a little shiny piece of gold. President Polk had made his announcement to the nation in December of 1848 that gold had been discovered in California, which basically changed the economy of the country. And from that point on, about 300,000 people from throughout the country and the world descended upon this gold country in Northern California, and it all started right here.
There was a hotel here at one time that burnt, and then they built it again, and it burnt again, and now that all that remains is that well.
This was the site of a Wells Fargo Express and Banking Company, established in 1851. We're going to go down here and check out the well and see if it's... Oh, look, we've got the foundation of the building right here. Don't jump in! Don't jump in! Yeah. I figured they filled this in. They don't want people killing themselves in Coloma.
Since I jumped in here, do I get a big whiff?
Yes, anything you wish.
Sweet.
What do you wish for?
Can't tell you or it won't come true.
So when we were rolling up here, we saw this little tiny metal jail over here. Can't believe they locked up people in this thing. Look at that.
Was it a part of this building?
I don't know. How would you like to be in that hot box and be on public display? People could certainly see you in there. This jail dates back to 1857. That metal cell over there was from Placerville.
This is another jail cell. See? Another jail cell.
How would you like to be locked up in that thing?
Why does it say keep off? It's structurally unsafe.
Maybe because it's structurally
Look
unsafe.
At these ginormous.
Apparently this was overhead.
Look at that.
History right here. Stone that was placed well over 100 years ago.
Double
That
bar.
thing is solid. There would be no escaping out of here.
No dynamite out of that.
Although right now they're a little loose. That's an awesome jail.
These ones aren't, because they're inner metal on the top. These ones are just in the rock. This piece is this thick and like 3 feet wide.
Yeah, that's to make sure you didn't get out of that thing.
How do you even lift that stuff up?
Probably
Look,
by
and then so this is all cockeyed
pulleys
weird.
and such. Look, you can see where they actually cut the stone by drilling holes in it and then cracking it. In comparison to the way we treat prisoners today, they're mollycoddled. Sarah, as usual, is taking off ahead of me. She's always curious about things.
There's a bunch of old wagons in
Oh,
here.
a bunch of old wagons in there.
That one has some sort of grinder mill thingamajigger on it. What does it say?
It's some kind of device to shake out the gold or something.
Bemerly wagon.
It's about Bemerly, a laborer from New York who came overland in his wagon. It's believed the lone survivor of the long trains of immigrant wagons across the plains in the late 1840s and early 1850s.
Oh, that's...
What'd you get?
It only pressed it on one side.
Oh, which one did you
got
get?
This one.
She got that one right there. So inside this museum, here's a display here on how maybe it looked when James Marshall discovered gold. Here's some examples of gold right here, small nuggets. All the newspaper ads and newspaper articles telling about the gold rush here in California. This is about the way it was. San Francisco went from a village of about 1,000 to over 20,000 in several short years. This Concord coach is one of only 19 stagecoaches built by L. Downing and Sons to survive. Wow. Gold mining equipment. Example of a sluice box right here. You rocked it back and forth. The lighter materials were supposed to slide off into the water and leave the gold behind. Yeah, it was manually rocked. So they really turned this place into an interactive visitor center. An old replica of a miner's cabin. It's an example of what was used for the miners during the gold rush. Pretty basic.
Pretty primitive.
There you go. Here is a stamp mill. It's like the ones that we found at Aurora. You would put your rocks down here and these hammers would jack up and down based on this camshaft. It was powered by steam or water. Crush that ore and they would get the minerals out of it. Again, stamp mill. Pretty old. That belt ran that whole stamp mill. So I'm on this concrete bridge. It was built in 1931 over the American River. They discovered gold right over that way. Because of what happened here on the discovery of gold in 1848, it just completely changed the character of California. About 300,000 people descended upon California in search of riches. And a lot of them found out that the work was extremely difficult and backbreaking. A lot of them turned to farming and businesses because they just couldn't make it as gold prospectors. Turns out that even James Marshall himself was unable to make himself rich, and he actually died penniless. We're going to go up there and check out his grave. He was actually such a celebrity that his autograph was being sought by collectors. I wish I had one because they're beautiful little cards that he had printed up, and he would sign his name to them. I would imagine they're going for thousands of dollars. So here we have a marker that states that here in this valley on January 24th, 1848, in the tail race of the sawmill over here, the old Columba Road, opened in 1847 from Sutter's Fort to Coloma, was used by Marshall to carry the news of the discovery of Captain John Sutter. Sutter really didn't want the news to get out about the gold rush because he knew it meant fundamental changes to this area as well as his agricultural enterprises in the Central Valley of California, especially around Sacramento. He was right. People were coming into Sacramento by the droves and they would actually squat on his land, and so there was actually a battle called the Squatters' Riot involving Sutter trying to get people off of his property. John Sutter himself was basically given the land by the Mexican government as a grant. He obviously wanted to hold on to his property and wanted to keep people off of his land.
James Wilson Marshall came into this valley and came in and built a mill in January of 1848, and when he was downstream a little bit, picked up a flake of pure gold, and that's when this valley was forever changed.
I understand that the mill was recreated virtually the same spot and that the rivers changed over the years, and that gold was discovered downstream a ways in the tail race. As you can imagine, the river would have been right in here. That's crazy. This is a complete reconstruction. They channeled the water of the river through there, and there's a paddle wheel down there. Turn the wheel, turn the saw. The logs were cut right here. They slid right down this little slide. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Why?
You really think you're allowed up there? No.
I want to go up there. Is there a platform up there?
No, it's just for looks. So this thing down here was the tail race, and downstream a ways is where Marshall picked up that nugget. They actually had it tested. I believe they brought that nugget to a woman by the name of Elizabeth Whitmer because her father had prospected gold, and he kind of knew what to look for in determining whether or not it was real gold. So apparently they boiled it in lye overnight, and apparently that's supposed to be the test, and it proved to be real. Sarah is bound and determined to get on that reproduction of a sawmill, even though I'm pretty darn sure she's not allowed to. You just can't seem to tell Sarah no. There she goes. She's gonna get kicked out of here. I know how the state of California works. I'm sure she's not allowed to get up there, even though there's no sign saying she can't. She's gonna break her neck too.
Are you saying I'm gonna break my neck?
Yeah. I think it's gonna be funny when a ranger comes along and says, "Ma'am, you gotta get out of there." In fact, I might say, "Ma'am, get out of the park." One of the consequences about news of the gold rush reaching all parts of the United States was that all the able-bodied people who were here to attend the mill went off in search of gold themselves because they knew they could make a lot more money. The mill work was guaranteed salary, and finding gold, there were no guarantees for that. So a lot of the people ended up regretting their decision. The memorial that was erected probably, 1920s or 30s is located upstream here between the mill and the riverbed. Nobody knows exactly where James Marshall picked up that nugget, but it was somewhere in this immediate region. This day, some kind of metal was found in the tail race that looks like gold. That's how he spelled it too.
Gold.
Henry Bigler wrote about the discovery. The diary page shows that this guy was pretty close to being illiterate.
The river at one time came through here more. That's the trail of the river, now dry.
Right. Unfortunately, they don't let you pan for gold here. I think it would be cool to find a nugget in this area where they found the first nugget. That'd be very cool. So it looks like there's conflicting information that I got about the original location of the mill. One of the parks people told me that the location of where the reconstructed mill is where it was. Another gentleman told me, and it makes sense, that the mill was actually where this monument was right here, where this plaque has been placed. The original tail race went right down through here. So James Marshall discovered gold somewhere in this area. This very cool stone monument that says Sutter Mill was placed here in 1948. Right behind this monument is the American River, which looks pretty much the way it looked back then in the 1840s. They tell us to keep out of this area, but I think it would be cool just to get a handful of the soil right over here. You find any gold?
No.
Maybe if we're like Marshall and look down in the water, we can find our nugget.
Yeah, I don't think so. This is very bouldery.
It's too bad that we can't find a piece of gold like John Marshall found. What? You got a piece of gold?
It's a little small piece. Why that piece looks like a blue. See the round one, and then go next and it looks blue, and then right there it looks like a little piece of gold.
I'm betting that these berry vines with their stickers were probably here back in the 1840s. The tail race was right through here.
Huh?
The mill was right through here. The guy explained to me that low spot there, right through here, is where they found the gold down here. As we leave Coloma and make our way to the Marshall gravesite, it's one last look at historical buildings. So it's right here on this spot where James Marshall is buried. They made a big to-do about his memorial spot. They decided to bury him on this hill overlooking the spot where he discovered gold.
Is he buried here?
Yes, he's buried here.
See, like the farmer. Except this guy has some importance. Look at these carving things. They're super cool. The one on the other side has like a little farmhouse. Look at the cloud.
Wisp of a cloud up there. He is pointing to the spot where he discovered gold.
He's under here?
He's somewhere in this area, yeah. James Marshall was born in New Jersey, and for a time he left home and he went to the Midwest, I think it was Missouri River area, and he did some farming. In the 1840s, he decided he was going to come to California and explore the new territory out here. He worked as a carpenter, he started buying some land and became a stable settler, and joined John Fremont in staging the Bear Flag Revolt, trying to seize control of California, which failed when American troops arrived to occupy the territory at the start of the Mexican-American War. He continued to serve with Fremont. He eventually returned to his farm, only to find that his cattle had been stolen, his house ransacked, and looted. He was forced to sell his property and was able to form a partnership with John Sutter to construct the sawmill down where we just visited. James Marshall was a drifter for the rest of his life, going from town to town in California, and became a drifter. He eventually settled in Kelsey, not too far from here, where he lived off his garden, and he died in 1885. They decided that a fitting place for his burial would be right here on this spot, overlooking where he discovered gold in 1848. When he died in 1885, he was absolutely penniless. An ironic legacy for a man who had such an important role in California history. We appreciate you tuning into this episode of History Hunters. We enjoy taking you to places in California and throughout the United States and show you a little bit about the history that maybe you don't know about. We hope that you like our program, that you give us a comment, like, maybe subscribe to our channel. Thanks a lot.